Hello, this is Dale Matthews, and I'm joined by Mike Jones. Hello, Mike.
Hey Dale, what's going on? I feel like I'm playing Candy Crush Saga or something.
Yeah, we've got something new underneath this today. We've talked about this a little bit. This is a method by which you can vote. You can say what your opinions are about the videos that we're playing. And so, probably twice a week, probably on Sundays and Wednesdays, we'll go ahead and we'll put these up so that you can see. Now, this means I'm not very happy with this video that I'm seeing, and not with us for showing it to you, for goodness sake, but I don't like what people are saying in this video. This one is I'm not at all happy about it. This one is I'm very upset, and this one with flames coming up over the top is I'm outraged by what I've just seen. We've had some videos recently that fit into each one of those categories, especially this last one. I am outraged. And so what we're going to do is every once in a while, twice a week, we're going to play some videos for you. It's a chance for you not to just watch, and I'm glad that you're watching. Thank you for watching. But it's a chance for you to also register your feeling about this. Now, register. We don't want your email address from this. We're not going to be keeping it. We're not going to put you on some kind of list, some kind of stupid list. We're not, running for office just so that we can sell our website like somebody that we know.
In the way that we're doing this, there's no way we can.
That's right. We don't want your information. Now, here's what'll happen. You click on one of the buttons below. You click on I'm very upset. This one right here. You click on I'm very upset. And what will happen is we'll see the fact that there were 5 people who clicked on I'm very upset, and we'll send out 5 emails protecting your name. We are not going to reveal your name. You will suffer no retaliation from anybody.
We won't even know your name.
Right. I'm saying that. And so we're going to send out an email. We're going to send out an email, and we will make sure that the correct officials get this email saying, I just watched this video. It can't have much detail because you're not including any video. You're just clicking on it. So I just watched this video on the Dale and Mike show or on badcounty.com, and I am very upset because that's the button that you clicked, and they'll get that. Now, that may not seem like a lot, except just think about this. If we have 5 outraged, very upset, disappointed emails twice a week, just 5 of them, because there's more than that like the show, that click on like. If just 5 people do that, that's 10 emails a week times 4, 40 emails a month. I think they'll get the point that you're not happy with some of the things. And if you're deliriously happy with them, you're not watching the show in the first place. Mike?
Okay. Yeah, I'm anxious to see how this all works.
It was my idea, so if it flops, it's my fault. And if it's a great success, it's my fault. So, yeah, we're happy to share this stuff with you. The only thing that Mike's going to have to be, I just thought of this. If there's some kind of message at the bottom of the video that we're showing, you may have to turn off the buttons so that they can read the dang message. Sorry about that.
Okay, it may not happen
just for that one
video.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just for that one video.
Okay.
I
didn't preview these, so I don't know which one those would be, but we'll see.
Okay, all right. So anyway, you'll see below, once again, it's a little bit of flames, a little bit more, quite a bit more, and running up over the top. Yes. Are you over the top kind of character? We're going to find out.
Not yet. I want to see some videos here.
So it's fees time again in the OK Corral. And so the commissioners are talking to all the departments and encouraging them to come forward with their raising of fees. This is the thing that Wally Hicks told us. What did he tell us about fees, Mike? Shortly.
Well, we did have previously that if any fees ever wanted to be raised by the county, that it had to be done by a vote of the people. And they essentially overturned that somehow, Steve Rich, in the last go round. And that's what I know about it.
So just so that you know, according to Wally Hicks, there's no difference between a fee and a tax. Nobody really knows what the difference is. They're raising your taxes. So we're going to go back over something that was said in the little back room. The audio may not be perfect from the little back room. It's gotten better the way that we're handling it. And you will hear now Diane Hoover. She's the head of the health department, and she's explaining to the commissioners. Has been in there for quite a few years, and at this meeting, she had just discovered something. Mike?
I wanted to specifically address what I understand were the areas of concern related to the new justifications, and that was specifically the area of deductions. When I looked at the current fees for those two particular areas, I didn't understand how they had been calculated beforehand. And so I just applied the new hourly rate. It takes approximately 1 hour to do that type of inspection. So the new fee, even though it's a lower fee, is the estimated hourly rate for sanitary to go through that inspection for those two categories. So because this is the first time I had been through the calculation process and I didn't really understand some of the previous calculations, I sent our fee schedules off to the foodborne prevention illness people at the state and asked them to do an independent and objective review of my calculations and the fees. When I look at the previous justification sheet, it didn't follow what the ORS calculation is, which is the hourly amount times the number of inspections a year for whatever that particular thing is, times how long an estimated length of time it would take. Sure. Plus the 45 for at least one plus $45 application fee. So that was another reason why I went to the state. Okay, did I do this correctly?
Right. I actually totally endorse the idea that it's based on state statute and a formula that's defensible, as opposed to something that historically might have been a little bit more. Does $200 feel better than
sure
120 or 225?
Well, we do have a formula. What was missing from the public health formula is they were not assessing the administrative costs to their programs. And that's why we were finding they were having a shortfall every year, because their administrative costs were not assigned to the programs. So we were not getting that piece covered. And that's what this does, is it truly reflects the cost of doing business.
What if I'm mildly perturbed?
Then you would click on the one to the farthest to the left.
Oh, I see. Okay, yes.
So what did we find out in this? That was great because we could read what was written underneath. What did we find out about this? This is the introduction to the subject. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I don't know. That seemed pretty dated to me because Simon was the chair apparently, and Rosemary Paget's there, and she hasn't been around in quite a while. It seems like they were going over the fee raising thing. To be honest, didn't catch the audio all that good.
All right. So what happened in this meeting was the health director came forth and indicated to the Board of County Commissioners, with Rosemary Paget, the chief financial officer, at her side, that for years the county had been charging way too much, 3 times, 300% of what they should have been charging. When a 1 hour inspection, the people were being charged, the businesses were being charged for 3 hours. We'd been doing this for years. And so she went to the state to say, is this kosher? And they said, no, it is not. you were not allowed to charge 300% of the charge. So she brings it to the commissioners. Now that her colleague, Rosemary Paget's colleague here, Diane Hoover, is revealing that the county's been charging 300% too much for years, she changes the subject to, well, you know, we're not doing so well and bringing in money for, you are not allowed by state law to charge 300% of what the charge is. And so good for Diane Hoover. She brought it forward. The commissioners don't look surprised or especially perturbed by this, as Mike had put it. And Rosemary Paget is being kind of protective of the whole thing. She's the risk manager. She was the risk manager. So certainly some of these companies will say, hey, what do you mean you've been charging us 300% too much for years and years and years? That's what that one's about. So what's the result? You say, hey, good, Diane Hoover. Thank you very much. Next video, please.
Did they pay anybody back?
We're going to get to that.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
It's proven that the county overcharged us. So when will you return the money?
Oh.
Diane Hoover, the health director, met with you last week and pointed out that when she was trying to ascertain that the fees that are charged by the health department are fair and legally defensible, that she could not for some of the fees. And much to the surprise of some people in county government, she suggested lowering some of the fees. For example, if it only takes 1 hour to do an inspection, why would citizens be charged for 3 hours? Does the county have any kind of policy about returning monies that were overcharged? So it goes back to this board of 3. Now my guess is that one of the commissioners, Commissioner Heck, will cover up his eyes during this and deny 3 times that such things even exist. It's easier just to be quiet and not react to something that you know is wrong. I believe that Commissioner Walker will cover up her ears, maybe stick her fingers in her ears, la 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 la, and give us a whole lot of little tiny details on some other subject that have nothing to do with overcharging and returning the amount of money that's due back to the people that were, the money was stolen from them by the county government. Commissioner Hare could cover up his mouth. He said in the past, if you've got nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. But he's also said he's in favor of lowering fees. So here's the perfect opportunity to lower fees in retrospect and say, you know, we charged you too much for years. We're going to return some of that money to you. It's the right thing to do. It's the honorable thing to do. The honorable thing is not to ignore it. The honorable thing is not to change the subject. And the honorable thing is not to go against the pledge that you've given to the people. You have an opportunity to do this, and you should take it. It was interesting to me that the chief financial officer, who was also the risk manager, quickly changed the subject when Simon Hare was saying, well, maybe some of these fees are set up about what feels good. No, we have a policy. Sure we do. Thank you.
We cannot, as a board, second guess the actions of a previous director, previous board, or previous hearing. So those are things that are, at this point, historical, and we can't go back retro and try to second guess all of these people, because all these do, just as they will this time, go to public hearings, and people have the opportunity then to make public comment.
Yeah. Right, they're historical, so we can't. What was it? And therefore hearsay. So none of that ever happened.
Right now, okay. So you now hear that you've been overcharging people for years, but you're not going to do anything about it because that would be criticizing a previous board. And our solution for this is that when the new fees are suggested, why you can come in And you can say your opinions. Of course, you're not going to know that this one's 300% too much because nobody's telling you.
You know, I wonder what she would do if a previous board had passed a punishment for speaking over your 3-minute limit of caning. They take you out into the foyer there and cane you, and they would just leave that in place because, of course, you know, you can't criticize the previous board.
And what would happen if a previous board chair had called someone a lying maggot for just showing a videotape? Or if a previous board chair said, this guy has just said that all firefighters are pedophiles, which is completely false. Or if a previous board chair had said, I don't want you playing back that audio tape that shows that I lied. That's disruptive. I'm cutting off the power.
Are we still, is this particular topic part of the rest of the videos? Because I'd love to know some more information, but I'm not going to ask you if it comes up in the other videos.
It will come up in the other videos. And there were kind of a negative attitude. Wow, you could cover up your eyes, you could cover up your ears and all the rest of that. Because they had already indicated that they weren't going to do anything about this. Before this meeting, this was the announcement, actually, that they're not going to do anything about this. And you heard what Cheryl Walker's reaction was. They're not going to do anything about this because they're not going to refund something. The government has overcharged you. They're not going to say, gosh, are we embarrassed? Well, okay, look, it wasn't us, but we're going to do the right thing now. They're not going to do the right thing. You can depend on them not to do the right thing. Now, see, for me, I would press this one, but that's just me. I'm outraged by that kind of activity. Now that they know that there was a mistake made, why wouldn't they refund the money? It's not a lot of money. It's the principle of the thing.
Are they still overcharging on those fees that were discussed in that specific thing there?
Yeah, that's the next video.
Okay,
You're
well,
right on top of it, Mike. Good for you.
Okay.
All right, next video, please.
Dale Matthews, Grants Pass. So we were surprised in the little back room the other day when the chief financial officer told the county commissioners that one of the department heads was actually going to lower some fees. Now, some of the fees being raised by the health department include 40.7% increase. Nobody asked any questions about that. But what she was basically concerned about is some of these fees are actually going to go down, and I don't know why, she said. So when Diane Hoover came in the next couple of days, and said, well, one of the reasons is that we've been overcharging people. In one case, they were charged for a 3-hour inspection when it only took 1 hour, one category of cases. And so we're going to lower those fees. I think that's great. There's a reason to praise your county government. People say, I never do that. Oh, yes, I do. There's a great reason to do so. So I came to this meeting in the Ann Basker and I said, well, you didn't establish this fee, but it happened under your watch. And so now that you know, that you've been informed, that you've been overcharging people, what is this Board of County Commissioners going to do? When are you going to return that money? Not to me, but to the businesses or to the citizens of Josephine County that they've been overcharged. What actions are you going to take? Well, there was a lot of silence except for Cheryl Walker said, well, that's historical. So what I did is I contacted Diane Hoover yesterday morning and I said, repeated some of this, she knew it. And I said, now Cheryl Walker said it's historical. So my question to you is, before these fees are lowered, isn't it happening now? That's not history, that might be today. I said to her, could you please tell me, ma'am, and I praised her 4 times in this conversation. I said, please, could you tell me, when was the last time that someone, business people in Josephine County were charged these high fees? The last time it happened. Is it historical? Her answer was, Because of the kinds of questions you ask, I pity you. This conversation is at an end. Keith Heck is smiling. I would imagine he would. So you'll certainly, after this, especially Cheryl Walker, will talk about all of the reasons why Diane Hoover should be praised, and she's the best health director in the world. And as the previous administration says, our CFO is the best in the world. Some CFO in China is crying her eyes out tonight. But the question still remains, what are you going to do as county commissioners when this happened on your watch and you have the ability to do something about it? I predict nothing.
You know, that's part of that, condescension and arrogance that you get from county officials, or from, listen, you get this, it doesn't matter where you are, what city, what state, probably what country. If you happen to go in and talk to somebody, you're probably going to run into one of those people. You might get lucky and run into one of the people that work in government that aren't like that. And, I'd hate to think that they're the minority, but I've just experienced so many of them. Maybe it's that when you run into people like that, it's a negative impression that, well, you know what they say, if you went to some place 50 times and the food was good every time, and then you went there the 51st time and you got a bad burrito, that would be the impression that was strongest with you. And so perhaps that's what's going on there. But, I don't want to be overcharged by government. I think everything they do is overcharging, but that's whole nother ball game.
Do you believe that I asked her a question that was just, totally wrong? I mean, I called her and I praised her first 4 times. Thank you so much for uncovering this. It can't be hard to do your job, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I was very nice about it. And then when I asked her, the question that you had, the question anybody would have, you had it spontaneously. You didn't know what this video was about. Gee, are they still doing it? That was my question. Is it possible that we're doing that at this point? Because Cheryl Walker said that is historical. And her answer was, I pity you for asking such a question. So she pities you too now, Mike.
Well, and this is just some more of that. Listen, she knows what team she's on, and it's not yours. So that's why you get that from her.
When any normal person, look, okay, don't forget now, this is the one that you click if you're disappointed, okay? If you're deliriously happy, don't watch this show. This is the one that you click right here if you're not at all happy. This is the one that you click if you're very upset. And this was the one that you would click if you were outraged. When she said to me, I pity you for asking such a question, this conversation's at an end, I would click this one. That would be me. That's what I would do. That's after just saying all these nice things. I totally had not expected that out of Diane Hoover. I didn't know about Diane Hoover.
Dale has, taken me to task for leading polls before.
Oh,
he might be leading
I was
the survey a
outraged
little.
Well, when I first heard about this, my reaction was this one, that I was disappointed that our county government had done this. And then when I found out that the county government didn't intend to do anything about that, okay, then I was very upset that they weren't going to do anything about that. So don't click on anything, or
and
don't
then
forget
what,
now. We're not keeping your information. We're not passing your information. There's going to be no retaliation.
We don't even ever get your
Would you
information.
stop saying that, please? Okay. All right. Yes, got that. So the thing is that no one's going to retaliate.
No, that's not what you're saying to people.
Okay.
That is not what you're saying to people.
Okay.
We have no way. If you click on these buttons, we have no way of knowing.
Right. And we can't put you on a mailing list. We won't. There's nothing. We won't put you on a mailing list. You're not
Yes.
going to be getting
won't know.
timeshare commercials. No one in Nigeria is going to be asking you to invest in their
or
bank.
anything else.
And there's no risk of retaliation from Keith Heck and Cheryl Walker. No risk of retaliation. We'll take the heat on this one. When you click on these, what happens is you go to a video and it says, okay, your click is, you said, I am disappointed or whatever. And then we'll count those. And then we'll send out videotapes and, well, no, we won't. We'll send out emails to the appropriate officials and it'll say, people said that they were disappointed once they heard this. This is kind of a test here because this is obviously, as Mike pointed out, something that's a little bit older, but fee raising is coming up again. And so are they charging you the right amount? Well, as Cheryl Walker says, if you think it's the wrong amount, if you think it is, you don't know, we're not telling you, but if you think it is, you can always complain at a meeting and they're going to listen real carefully. Just like they did to me. Go ahead, play the next one, please.
It's proven that the county overcharged us. So when will you return the money? Diane Hoover, the health director, met with you last week and pointed out that when she was trying to ascertain that the fees that are charged by the health department are fair and legally defensible, that she could not for some of the fees. And much to the surprise of some people in county government, she suggested lowering some of the fees. For example, if it only takes 1 hour to do an inspection, why would citizens be charged for 3 hours? Does the county have any kind of policy about returning monies that were overcharged? So we were surprised in the little back room the other day when the chief financial officer told the county commissioners that one of the department heads was actually going to lower some fees. Now, some of the fees being raised by the health department include 40.7% increase. Nobody asked any questions about that. But what she was basically concerned about is some of these fees are actually going to go down. And I don't know why, she said. So when Diane Hoover came in the next couple of days, and said, well, one of the reasons is that we've been overcharging people. In one case, they were charged for a 3-hour inspection when it only took 1 hour, one category of cases. And so we're going to lower those fees. I think that's great. There's a reason to praise your county government. People say, I never do that. Oh, yes, I do. There's a great reason to do so. So I came to this meeting in the Ambassador and I said, well, you didn't establish this fee, but it happened under your watch. And so now that you know, that you've been informed, that you've been overcharging people, what is this Board of County Commissioners going to do? When are you going to return that money? Not to me, but to the businesses or to the citizens of Josephine County that they've been overcharged. What actions are you going to take?
Mr. Matthews has the, whatever the motivation is, I don't know. I try not to read motives. But the continual complimenting by insult of certain workers and county workers, and certainly Diane Hoover, who is the county health director, is made reference to that this morning, and somehow alluding, as you quoted, I don't know why these fees went down, indicating that she was sort of a dunce as to why these fees went down. It was outside of her purview of responsibility or knowledge.
I just don't understand how we did an assessment of public health fees in 2011. So it should be fairly current. We've seen, Diane's done a lot of cost saving types of measures. Yeah, we still have an increase of 40%. And all other fees, I just don't understand the justification for that. It seems as though
Well, and that's why I thought Ryan was going to be here today so we could discuss some of these things.
well, I think it's okay. We can, convey a message to Commissioner Walker that
Which ones do you have?
questions about. What's that?
I question when we've got a department and programs that are not paying their bills, being able to reduce their cost of service.
Diane Hoover, who is the county health director, is made reference to that this morning, and somehow alluding, as you quoted, I don't know why these fees went down, indicating that she was sort of a dunce as to why these fees went down. Outside of her purview of responsibility or knowledge of something is just, it's ludicrous, but most of your remarks are.
So what I did is I contacted Diane Hoover yesterday morning, and I said, repeated some of this, she knew it, and I said, now, Cheryl Walker said it's historical. So my question to you is, before these fees are lowered, isn't it happening now? That's not history, that might be today. I said to her, could you please tell me, ma'am, and I praised her 4 times in this conversation, I said, please, could you tell me, when was the last time that someone, business people in Josephine County were charged these high fees? The last time happened. Is it historical? Her answer was, because of the kinds of questions you ask, I pity you. This conversation is at an end. Keith Heck is smiling. I would imagine he would.
At the end, you say that I pity you, and then you made some comments about my smile. The smile used to be a smile of agreement, is that I, as well, have a sense of pity that your life is summed up in just such negativity toward whatever the county workers are. Efforts are trying to be made. Doesn't mean that everything is correct or is even accurate on what people try to do, but they can be supported, and changes can be made, and attempt to be made. But to think that some total of my life would be sitting in your shoes at your time of life, it's a sad remark. And the only reason I mention this is because you mentioned my name, and I'm mentioning yours. I pity you as well.
Okay. Well,
Nice.
yes.
So he's not getting any of it right. I didn't say Diane Hoover was a dunce. I didn't say that Diane Hoover didn't understand what was going on. It was Rosemary Paget that asked the question. She questioned why, at this time when the health department could use more money, why any of the fees would go down, including the fact that they were overcharging us.
Yeah, because they need money, as though that somehow should be the criteria for what the fee is set at there.
It's breaking the law. It's breaking state law. That's why the state got involved in looking at this. They said to her, no, that's not right. So Rosemary Paget said, well, I don't understand why we would lower prices at a time when we need the money. And Keith Heck then summarized it by me saying that Diane Hoover was a dunce. I didn't say that. Nice to have your words and then he also agreed that he also pities me at my time of life for asking questions about something like overcharging. And as you had asked, sorry to put you on the hot seat, Mike, but you said, gee, are they still doing it? Any normal person would ask that question.
Yeah, are you going through menopause or something, Dale? That I'm not aware of, or something? Your time of life, or
He's
whatever?
talking about
I was
my
just
time
wondering
of
what
life.
that was. Yeah, I don't know what that's in reference to. But no, listen.
How do you feel about the fact that citizens, this citizen in particular, was rephrased this way twice in one conversation, absolutely, totally opposite of what I was saying?
Listen, I totally understand this. I'm not baffled by this at all. You're calling them on something that they don't want to, be called on. They don't want to address that you're calling them on it. And so they're going to spin it somehow that, this is your fault for bringing this up. And you shouldn't have called this lady on the phone and talked down to her and all this kind of stuff. That's the whole point of it, obviously, is to divert the attention off of themselves and put it on you.
Well, if you find that,
Yeah.
so I know it sounds like we're advertising, but we don't make any money. If you find that just a little bit perturbing, you can click on this one right here. Just a little bit perturbing. See, I'm not trying to get you to do anything in particular, and this is my index finger. Be careful about which finger you're using, Dale.
Yes.
So if you
do it from the top, you know.
well, yeah, I could do it like that too. This medicine that I take makes me jump all over the place. So this is really me. Okay, so you could check on this. You could click on that one and say, I'm mildly perturbed by that. We won't keep your information. We're not going to reveal who you are to Keith Heck so we can call you and say that he pities you too. Nobody's going to be and know who you are. Anything else, we'll just send out a sort of a generic email saying, I watched the show and I was only very slightly perturbed by that. And so, don't choose this last one, outraged. I've already chosen that one. You don't need to choose that one. What I'm saying is, we ask you if you like the show, but only if you like it, click on like. And you've done so. Thank you for responding. Now we're saying maybe we can take some of that huge energy and get you to click on something else. And so you could potentially click on one of these, and then we'll pass your message along to them. We're not going to embellish it. We don't have to. Can't say, well, and I've lived here for 35 years. We don't know. That's okay. You're anonymous. We'll take the heat. Go ahead, Mike. Play the next one, would you please?
Oh, it seemed to be having a little bit of an issue.
You can see that one. I repeated things a little bit in the editing, but you'll live.
Yeah, hang on just a second here.
I told Mike ahead of time that there might be a little repetition in some of these where I'm combining them together, but it's easier for you to see Keith Heck in context with what he was saying based on what I was saying.
Okay. Vamp for a second, Dale, because I got to fix something.
All right, I'm going to do that some more. Okay, so the reason we came up with this idea of these things down at the bottom is it was really based on what happened with the city council and with their reaction, all those people who had come up, and their summary of activity was those people, even Dan DeYoung said, well, they obviously don't want any kind of law enforcement. Really, Dan? 3 or 4 people got up, including Colleen Martin from the Chamber of Commerce, and said, we're always for this. We always vote for this. We do totally understand law enforcement. We want a police presence. But what Dan heard was not that. He heard, no new taxes, no new taxes. We don't want any new taxes. Really? They're not listening. Okay? So this is just another way to take some of your thoughts and be sure that Mike is ready to play the videotape.
Yes, I am.
Go ahead, Mike.
I wanted to specifically address what I understand were the areas of concern related to the new justifications, and that was specifically the area of elections. When I looked at the current fees for those two particular areas, I didn't understand how they had been calculated beforehand, and so I just applied the new hourly rate. It takes approximately 1 hour to do that type of inspection, so the new fee, even though it's a lower fee, is the estimated hourly rate for sanitary to go do that inspection for those 2 categories. So because this is the first time I had been through the calculation process and I didn't really understand some of the previous calculations, I sent our fee schedules off to the foodborne prevention illness people of the state and asked them to do an independent and objective review of my calculations and the fees. When I look at the previous justification sheet, it didn't follow what the ORS calculation is, which is the hourly amount times the number of inspections a year for whatever that particular thing is, times how long an estimated length of time it would take. Sure. Plus the 45 for at least when plus $45 application fee. So that was another reason why I went to the state. Okay, did I do this correctly?
Right. I actually totally endorse the idea that it's based on state statute and a formula that's defensible as opposed to something that historically might have been a little bit more. Does $200 feel better than
Sure.
$120 or $200?
Does $200 feel better?
To say that we were surprised last week about fees in the health department is totally inaccurate. I have met with the director, Diane Hoover. We have been corresponding by email, not only with me, but with the finance office. And she also contacted the state health department in regards to how to calculate, because the State Environmental Health Division actually mandates how these things will be determined. It's in OAR 333-012-053, and it says must shift certain costs of the public health director to these fees. So she calculated all the fees, sent those to the state for their review to make sure they were in compliance with the state rules and statutes. And they approved it with one exception. She had, she put in $25 for one of the fees, and, excuse me, $35, and the state said it cannot exceed 25, so she reduced that one. And however, to say that she would claim that we have been overcharging people, the fees that are currently being charged and have been charged for the last number of years have been set by the board of county commissioners. They have hearings, just like the fees will this time. We will have hearings, people can come and comment. And those fees were set and voted upon after those opportunities. And now we have a situation where we have a formula that she is complying with to calculate these fees and has put these fees out there for consideration. We will be having a hearing on all of our fees coming up. I don't remember the date on that. I think it's another week or so. But the absurd comment about returning money to the people. What Mr. Matthews is he's talking about less than $300 of the fees that were reduced, all the fees in the health department, less than $300. And if the circumstances change, or if you find that for whatever reason you can find an economy in how you conduct in the inspections, and most of these are in the restaurant inspection area, if you can find economies in the way that is done or how it is reported, we are required to reduce those fees. It doesn't mean we overcharged anybody in the past. It may have been necessary to spend more time on some of those. But I'm not going to try to justify or defend what was passed in what fees were in the past, because they were passed by the board of commissioners at that time after public hearings, so everybody had an opportunity to comment at that time. We're working with, and that is historical. Anything yesterday and past is historical. What we're looking at today are the fees that are proposed based on the costs in the county and based on what we are required to do under the Oregon statutes. So to even consider about returning money to the people, anytime the government reduces a cost, we don't have to go back and refund money because everything was passed previously based on documentation at that time. And again, we're talking about $288. So all the time that Mr. Matthews is putting in, it probably doesn't work out to be very cost effective for the time he's taking up of our department heads having to talk about it. We cannot, as a board, second guess the actions of a previous director, previous board, or previous hearing. So those are things that are, at this point, historical, and we can't go back retro and try to second guess all of these people, because all these do, just as they will this time, go to public hearings, and people have the opportunity then to make public comment. So, that being said, we're going to have hearings coming up on these fees, and if anybody wants to comment on those fees, they're certainly encouraged to come in and do so. And they're available for you to review and make comment. And if you can't be here, if you're out there and can't be here, you can make written comment on those fees. Do you know the date of that hearing?
I was going to try to remember, but
Let's try to remember the date of the hearing too.
So you'll certainly, after this, especially Cheryl Walker, will talk about all of the reasons why Diane Hoover should be praised, and she's the best health director in the world. And as the previous administration says, our CFO is the best in the world. Some CFO in China is crying her eyes out tonight. But the question still remains, what are you going to do as county commissioners when this happened on your watch and you have the ability to do something about it? I predict nothing.
And I think it only appropriate that we have a very dedicated and diligent and professional department head as Diane Hoover, who is trying to do the very best job for the people of Josephine County, because much of her programs are mandated by the state in regards to inspections and services provided. She's doing, I think, an outstanding job of doing it. That's all I have to say, Mr. Chair.
Well, now, listen, if I had been overcharged, $300 by the county, I think I'd want it back.
And how many times?
It's just me.
For how many years was it over, and how many companies? And is it still happening? And none of those questions were answered, just I pity you for asking. There were so many things that Cheryl Walker said, it just easily could have made 5 videos out of one. I can't even remember what they all were, but one of them was, we weren't surprised. They were surprised. They were definitely surprised. Simon was absolutely surprised. Cheryl Walker said, well, I wasn't surprised. Everybody was surprised. So we weren't surprised. Then my favorite part of all, get ready to press one of these buttons down here, because my favorite part of all was when Cheryl Walker quoted from the Oregon Revised Statutes. It was ORS blah, 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 blah. So, and she quoted from it, and she's looking at this piece of paper and reading from it.
Yeah.
That's the famous looking at the piece of paper thing. That was the first time that Cheryl Walker had just completely, in county service, made something up, because, gee, I'm no journalists. Other journalists are going to do this. Nobody from KJO is going to look into it. Certainly not. And if they did find out, they're not going to report it. And the Courier, Jim Moore, certainly wasn't going to do. But I looked up what she read. I did a Google search on the words because maybe I'm missing it. I looked at the section. I looked at the page. That's not what it says. It doesn't even say anything. It doesn't say, it talks about that subject, but it doesn't say you have to do that. When I did the Google search, I typed in all the words that were in the statement that she made. There was no one in the history of mankind and in this universe that said those words except, I think, is and the.
Well, and, when you're reading that off of a page, and she was making it very, very clear that I'm reading this right now, and it's right here, and here's what it says. And to make something up like it, I mean, that ought to be enough for you to be canned right there. Why shouldn't there be some sort of a mechanism where you don't have to go through a recall or whatever? If you're shown to have blatantly lied and it can be proven ironclad, you ought to be canned right there.
So here's an opportunity for you to vote. Which one of these buttons would you pick? Oh, none of them. I love Cheryl Walker. She's the best ever. We actually talked to what's his name at that monthly advertising circular thing. We had nothing to say about this. Cheryl Walker's still his very favorite of all. I find it totally outrageous. That was the first time I thought, what the? That's amazing. She's making up a state law and acting like she's reading it, and she's completely pulling it out of a place we don't talk about on our show.
Except for when you just did just now.
Yeah, I don't use those words. So anyway, now what do you do? You know, that was the question I asked on KMED following that. Now that we've got someone that says, I am an elected official, I have looked it up in the rules. Here's where you find it. Here's exactly what it says. And they're totally making that up. This to me was even more important than Diane Hoover saying, I pity you, and Keith Hick, I also pity you. That's just petty corruption, okay? But the idea that any commissioner would make up something whole cloth, something completely false to bolster her position, Now, what do you do with people like that? It's bad enough they say, well, I know what the rule is and it's this, because they could be wrong. She's reading the thing and not saying it correctly. That's big time corruption. That's just bold-faced lying. That's Hollywood sign lying.
Yes.
So
Indeed.
you just go ahead and indicate if it mildly perturbs you, then do like Mike says and click on this one way over here. Mike?
And what are those other ones again?
Okay. The first one is I disapprove. Okay. I have to look up, be sure what the words are. I disapprove. And it will verify this once you click on it. If you click on it, you don't have to click on it. And it's required. No, it's not. And then the second one, this one right here, is I'm not at all happy by what I saw on this videotape. Not at all happy. Could be you. Slightly bigger flames. The third one is I'm very unhappy. That's this one. I'm very unhappy. When I see this kind of thing, I'm not just mildly perturbed. I'm very unhappy. And the last one is I'm outraged by this. Okay, you choose the one that you like, and we'll see that the appropriate email goes off to the appropriate person.
Okay.
It's your chance to, we're trying to get you slightly more into an action mode. Don't do what we say. Well, please do what we say. No, don't do what we say. Just do whatever you think is right. And the way that I would run the show if I was there is I would ask people their opinions about things. We would put advisory questions on the ballot, every single ballot. Do you think this ought to happen? Do you think this ought to happen? We'd listen to you. We need more people listening. We need more officials listening. Look at what happened with the city council. Even after the vote, they still are convinced that nobody said anything. Why? Where was the arguments against it? The commissioners have said, well, where are your solutions for economic development? What? So here's a chance for you to register your slight disappointment with someone that would make up something whole cloth, just completely make up something to try to get off the hot seat. Next video, please, Mike. A little repetitive, sorry.
I'd like to speak a little bit about the refining process of our fees. Something Diane Hoover has done is she's really referenced all of the state statutes and that govern the structure and how she can facilitate fees. So in Josephine County, with their limited general fund dollars, there's a lot of departments that have been put on a fee-based structure. And public health is one of those. They have a deficit pretty historically. It's about 10% of their total budget, which is right around $200,000 to $250,000 a year. So overcharging, it's kind of be hard to argue that with the whole department and even specific sections like the environmental health rarely make budget. So they're not necessarily paying for the service that they are providing overall. Not that it should be on any one specific fee, but it would be tough to argue that there's no windfall generated revenue from this program. And I think Diane Hoover, in looking at adjusting the fees and making them equitable based on the hours and the state
legal, making them legal
is a good thing. It's defensible, and I think that's something we should be commending her for. And reducing fees when she finds it necessary and appropriate is a good thing. Retroactively trying to compensate people for arguing that they were overcharged is not going to be an easy thing to do. Thankfully, this isn't necessarily the fees that were charged. They're not widespread. They were probably pretty limited, as you'll see by the number of people that have participated in those fees in the past. So I think that the other thing that I would say is that our managers in the structure that we have provided, they serve the public, but they report directly to the board. They do not report to the people. If there is a problem that a constituent has with any employee of the county, I think it's both the manager's responsibility and that of the citizens to relay that to the board, that they need to find those kinds of grievances. And the liaison to public health is Commissioner Walker, but it's a full board responsibility, and that's where it needs to go. We're a corporation. We're a business, and that's where the buck stops, is with the board. So if you have any kind of a situation, and I've referenced this from time to time in our managers meetings, that if you have a constituent that you're at an impasse with, they need to bring that issue to a board member first. So that would be my recommendation for now and in the future, and we'll deal with it. So with nothing further, please enjoy this beautiful fall weather. These trees are phenomenal. I think we're really blessed in Southern Oregon. There's just so many positive things that are going on. I think we have spent a lot of time on the challenges of Josephine County, but man, the weather this fall has been phenomenal. There was a great turnout yesterday for the walk relative to ballot night coming up in November. It just, people are really out there trying to do the right thing, picking up trash. I don't know, those kinds of things are really the positives that we need to focus on as best we can here in Josephine County. Not get mired down with all of the challenges that we have. So if nothing further, the board is adjourned at 10:08. Thank you all and have a great week.
No.
But the question still remains, what are you going to do as county commissioners when this happened on your watch and you have the ability to do something about it? I predict nothing.
Yeah, it seems like that probably came true.
Yep. Hey, it hardly affects anybody, Mike. It's only restaurant inspections.
Yeah, if I was a restaurant, and the problem is that people that own restaurants probably never saw this, because people that own restaurants work harder than almost anybody else. I spent some time working in a restaurant, and I've known people that own restaurants that you essentially live it. You don't have time for anything else. They probably had no knowledge of this whatsoever. And that's unfortunate. It will probably, and another thing is that the margin that restaurateurs are working on is pretty small to begin with. I mean, if you at some point make it to where you're pretty good and you got a good clientele and you're making a good turnover every day, good for you. But during the time when you're coming up, $300 is a big deal.
I would like a good turnover every day, Mike. I like cherry. Listen, that's what they said in the very first meeting about this. There's a possibility over time, this was 2 years ago, but fees aren't going away. And there's a possibility that it later turned out to include also swimming pools or something, or maybe only swimming pools. There was a lot of confusion when it first was introduced, and then they shut up and they weren't talking about it anymore. You saw what happened there. So I want to be sure that I'm saying this right. But the real point to me is, well, don't be paying attention to this. I mean, go out and pick up some trash. Isn't this beautiful weather that we're having? Why would we get involved in paying back somebody? You could even say, we're not going to pay you back a dime if it was a previous board. But what about this board? Well, you could take some responsibility.
Well, the reason why they don't want to get mired in talking about that is because it's not their money, and so it's not important to them. So let's enjoy the sunshine instead.
Well, they're not getting much sunshine at these meetings, and it was very difficult to get the information out as it was. And then the message to everybody, including everybody in this audience, is if you get up and you find that something's wrong, you're going, well, wait a minute, now what are you going to do about this? I mean, okay, you didn't start the thing, but it continued under you. Do you feel any responsibility at all? You're going to get your head handed to you. Don't ask those kinds of questions. They're going to pity you for asking those kinds of questions. So that's our show for today. This was our first experiment with letting you vote. Why shouldn't we let you vote? My gosh, I love that idea. And you can choose if you wish to. Now that you've seen these, you can go and register the fact, not register, but a little tick mark will go. This is a person. No, not this is a person. We heard from an anonymous person that there was a problem. Then we'll turn it in because we're used to being criticized for, hey, why aren't you enjoying the weather? Instead, you're sending us emails about fees. Yes, we are. And loving every minute of it? Well, not exactly. I'm a little upset about this kind of stuff. So I guess I'd probably click on the smallest flame. Mike?
Yeah, or whatever that does to you. If you feel like you could roast hot dogs over your head, then probably the one with the largest flame would be appropriate.
Thank you very much for your time, everybody. Thanks for voting. And we're going to give you many other chances to vote. Now, you have to vote on this one before 7 o'clock on Wednesday the 18th. Wednesday the 18th, because we're going to have another one on Wednesday. And so whatever vote you have will count for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and all of Wednesday except in the evening. And then somewhere in the evening on Wednesday, we'll play other videos. We'll let you get a chance to see those. We'll try to make them all the same topic so there's no confusion about what you don't like or do like. And then we'll run that through next Sunday. And we'll do this for a while and see if people, as I said, even if you just click and we're not capturing your information, okay? Even if you just click and there's just 5 of them, well, that kind of stuff adds up, and it's a lot more than what they're getting now, which is usually 0. And then you could also call them or send them your own email with your name on it and everything else, but no retaliation for this. Keith Eck will not be coming after you. You will not see Cheryl Walker on your front step except for Halloween. Thank you.